There we go. We live now.
What's the good word, y'all? Jets Flight Squad in the building. Welcome to the flight. We got your boys here. DKBxJets. We got Italy Jet, aka Everything NYJ, and 6, 7, 8, 12 different other podcasts.
Yeah, yeah.
uh,
You're not
and
wrong.
then we got our boy Gunny, aka New York Jet Situation Report, in the building as well. Appreciate you guys coming through. As normal, we got the juice for you guys today. We're chopping it up a little bit early. I know, oddly enough, there's been a lot of trade rumors for the New York Jets that still continue to add pieces to this offense. I don't want to say we're maxed out, but I think people are trying to play Madden moves right now where they
Yeah,
they want a 99 overall offense.
yeah. Yeah. They want to go back to the old days
I
of
think it's
having.
just crazy, man. Like, I feel like as Jets fans, man, we can't we just can't be happy. We can't be happy, man.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm
you,
happy.
you you saw the proof of the pudding last year with a player like a Brees Hall, right, and how he dominated when healthy. The NFL had no answer for him, and this was with somebody that had no quarterback to really alleviate the pressure off of
Right,
him either,
right.
right? Still dominated. The addition of Aaron Rodgers in itself, literally, elevates our offense to a stratosphere in which we would have only dreamed about last year. The weapons are there. Garrett Wilson being the only weapon available to the Jets offensively after Brees Hall went down still could not be stopped with, drumroll, mediocre quarterback play. Still could not be stopped. Like, we've done more than we need to in terms of making this offense like truly freaking impactful this season. And it overall, the defense can do what they do best, is get after the quarterback, because I expect us to play with a lot more leads. But this whole thought process, like you said, DK, it's like people think it's Madden. Hey, let's just keep throwing, all these players into the freaking on the team. You know what I'm saying? They were great at this point, or they're great now. It's not how that works. Salary cap ramifications are going to be an issue. I'm still trying to get Q under contract. We got to go ahead and restructure Aaron Rodgers. Like, people are just like, oh, we've got 28 mil. Oh my God, let's go ahead and bring in Dalvin Cook. Why? Why would we need Dalvin Cook
Oh
on the
man,
roster right now? There's only one football to go around.
right. I mean, and it's also one of those things where it's like I'm happy with what we got. I know there's going to be waiver wires. There's going to be free agent pickups. It's not over until August. We know there's going to be a lot of movement, but Dalvin Cook ain't the answer. You got to get Quinn in there. I really want another backup quarterback. I don't have faith in Boyle. Don't play Wilson. If you want Strevler there, okay, fun. He'll be a tight end linebacker doing a wildcat like Tebow back in the days, if that's what y'all want. But overall, I Dalvin Cook is just not the answer. I love Hackett. I love what he's going to bring to this offense. I love he's going to get our tight ends more involved. I love that even with mediocre play, Wilson still won Offensive Rookie of the Year. Thank you, baby Jesus. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah, uh, it's funny because I just started jumping back into Madden recently, so maybe that's why my thought process is right there. But I immediately look at, let's say, the snap count, for instance. Only one player played 100%. Connor McGovern. It's 1,114 snaps. Nobody else in the wide receiver room. The running back room is going to touch anything close to that. The closest weapon we have was Garrett Wilson, who's seen 884, or otherwise just a shade under 80% of the snaps on offense. You guys want us to add in Mike Evans. Uh, People wanted OBJ to add to that. People want Cook, as we mentioned, in the running back room. And my question to them is, how are we going to get all of these people on the field? All of these big egos, it's very rare you see a team come across where people are saying, I'm fine with playing 40% of the snaps this year because I know we're each going to go out there and dominate. It's going to give us the best performance over 4 quarters, and we're going to go out there and go 17-0 and then sweep the playoffs, get to the Super Bowl, get a ring. Like, that's realistically not happening. People still have to go out there and feed their families and stuff. And for as great as all of this sounds, when it comes time to those contract negotiations, the team isn't going to sit there and say, you took a back seat this year to help us out and we got the ring, so it will still max you out on your contract. Like, it's still a numbers game at the end of the day. So I take a look at it as you have a core trio, which we talked about. Robert Saleh said for multiple positions now, he's good with the guys we got. And I don't think that's just lip service. I'm sure Joe Douglas is still out there trying to figure out what he can do, but I think that is bottom of the depth chart, guys. Can we improve over a guy like Tristan Colon, for example, a backup guard that may not even make the team with some of the signings we're still doing? So if anything, I would say don't expect any huge blockbuster surprises from the team. And if we did go that route, I'd be very surprised because, as we mentioned, we're still focused on Quinnen. There's still going to be Aaron Rodgers and his contract restructure that we need to consider. So I can't see it. There's not a trade rumor I've seen so far where I'm like, I absolutely love it. Safety and linebacker may be the only position, and I don't think the contract that it would probably take to squeeze into that room, I don't think will even fit with what we're looking to do over this next year or two. So I can't see how it will work, or a guy that I'd even be relatively excited about that may be on the trade block for it.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, when you look at this roster, I do believe this is one of the better, well-rounded rosters in the NFL. Some people will sit there and say that's just a bunch of lip service from us as Jets fans, but in all actuality, like, this is a team. Are y'all hearing that in the background?
Yeah,
a little bit.
Yeah.
Hold on.
It's all good. And I think you missed your beard. I think you missed your beard a little bit. Yeah,
I get it. I get it in a bit. But
no, I'm just kidding. Now.
Nah, because when you look at it, man, like the offensive line, right? A lot of people were talking about like, oh, just have a busted ass offensive line. Y'all realize last year with the duct tape version of the offensive line, we still finished 17th in terms of overall rankings in the league. The 17th, that's literally average, an average offensive line with a patch job because of all the injuries. So every time I look at that, I just laugh and I'm like, okay, cool. Congratulations. We had literally no healthy offensive tackles on the field last year. We lost our best offensive lineman and possibly player in Elijah Vera-Tucker on the offensive side of the ball. Like, it's just funny to me where people just like, oh, their offensive line was horrendous. It was still the 17th ranked offensive line last year with literally a tape job of an O-line. So health being on our side this season, we could potentially have one of the better offensive lines. Last year on paper, we were all going in there saying, oh my God, on paper, it's a top 5 unit.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. We didn't get a chance to see that. Can they be a top 10 unit if they're healthy? I think so. Does Aaron Rodgers make our offensive line better because of the quick release that he has? I think so. Can we go from a 17th ranked patch job offensive line to a top 10 unit? I think so. So for me, this team doesn't have a lot of glaring holes. Not everything we do now is luxury picks. It's just luxury additions, right? And I think safety and linebacker, like you just said, DK, are arguably the two positions where we're all kind of sitting here and wondering, like, what are we going to do here? Or can he do this, right? We're still trying to get some answers there. But even with that said, we have a second-team All-Pro at the linebacker position, right? We just brought in Chuck Clark last year, who we've all seen dominate, with the Baltimore Ravens. This could be some guy that comes in there and alleviates some of those concerns. This team is significantly better than it was last year, and it's light years better than it was when freaking Kosal took over. Last year, they took us a huge step, 32nd ranked defense to the number 3 ranked defense. I think this year the offense is going to follow suit, and the defense is still staying in that top 5, top 10 area, barring any injury.
No doubt. I think if you look at probably the 2 key numbers I think a lot of people bring up the most when they want to argue the New York Jets still being crap. As you mentioned, 17th offensive line last year with going down to 7-8 tackles, losing AVT, Connor McGovern not being a stalwart but serviceable, and then Laken Tomlinson being absolutely a dud. You say that if you gave people that general picture for any other offensive line, you'd be like, all right, cool, you guys are trash. It's a high school offensive line against grown men. You finished 17th. You take a look at the quarterback position. We were last in passer rating. We were last in completion percentage. We were one of the worst quarterbacks in getting one of the worst teams at the position in getting the ball out of our hands, which led into a lot of sacks. So as he mentioned, you insert Aaron Rodgers, that alleviates all 3 of those main issues right away. You get the health of AVT back. Nobody questions the talent of the tackles. Nobody questions the talent of the tackles that we had in place. They question the health. And for my thought process, I can't name a single person that we lost last year that I'm dying to get back. And that includes Quan. It'd be nice. I think it'd be an improvement, but I'm not not in dire straits to see him back in a Jets uniform. So literally all you've done is add improvements to a roster that already could have been much better than 7-10 with just a few ticks of a better quarterback performance. You don't even have to tinker with the offensive line. And you're talking about maybe a 9-8 record, which would have got us in 10-7, something like that. So,
oh nah, man, I'm gonna die on this hill, DK. I swear to God, with freaking old boy from brain fart, Cleveland Browns quarterback last year.
Baker,
Jacoby Brissett.
Brissett.
With Jacoby Brissett last season, the New York Jets win the AFC East. Everything else remains the same. You add Jacoby Brissett's statistics and play on the New York Jets last year. The New York Jets win the AFC East, and it's not even like I'm making this up. Like if you look,
it's just funny. It's just funny. You keep saying
the stats
that.
of it are just ridiculous, and I'm like, every time I see it, I'm just like, oh my god, man, Jacoby Brissett could have won the AFC East last year.
And you'd have to imagine he'd improve on his stats in our offense.
He probably got a good payday. Yeah,
Bruh, I'm not gonna lie to you. So, like you said, just incremental play from the quarterback position. We're in the playoffs last year. We won 7 games with all-time horrible. Like we're talking about freaking Jamarcus Russell level play at the quarterback position. The Jets still won 7 games in the freaking AFC.
Yeah, we all seen the memes.
Yeah, we
right, bro. Like Jacoby Brissett could have won the AFC East last year, all things considered. I'm talking about the same injuries at the offensive line. Like Jacoby Brissett, to me, has a high enough IQ and understanding of the game where he could have maximized the weapons that he had. This offense could tailor-made to what he likes to do. Quick reads right out of his hands. We could have won the AFC East. Or just his stats alone. Just put those on the freaking Jets. Wins the AFC East.
And not only that, with the linebacker position, I'm going to go back to what you guys were talking about, linebackers and safeties. I think we're going to carry five linebackers. So whatever happens with Quan, whatever happens, Barnes can step up, or someone else can step. It starts with the S-U-R-F, Surfet. I don't know.
Oh, Chaz Surratt.
Yeah. I know they like him. I'm not in on that yet, but I know Quan wants to come back. If we bring back Quan, that'll boost it. But I know how much they want to believe in Sherwood. They want to believe in a couple other young players. But safety position, if Trey Dean makes this roster and if Tony Adams makes this roster, you got Chuck Clark and Whitehead has a bounce back year. With Chuck Clark's veteran presence, I'm actually okay at the safety position. Even move the LSU guy to safety, what we got Converse. So I'm okay with it, whatever happens. But I know if he stays there, he might be a cornerback because of Eccles' suspension. So I'm more worried about linebacker. And I know I'm bringing this up, but if Aaron Rodgers somehow, some way gets injured and he's out, I want a backup quarterback. But there's not that much great available. What are we going to go after, Teddy or Wentz? No, I don't want that at all.
Fair enough. I'm not as worried about linebacker at all because we played the majority of our defense in a 2 linebacker set for one. So CJ and Quincy are going to hold down the fort. When you want the rotations, you get a little bit of a concern. But the way I look at it, if we bring back Quan, you're automatically satisfied with your top 3. And then you still have Jamie and Sherwood, who you're very high on as a coaching staff from what we know. The safety position is more the unknown, and I think that's really the question mark. It's not that it's a bad unit because we don't know. We have Tony Adams, who played a handful of games last year, really only got significant amount of snaps in, I think, the last 4 games, if I remember correctly. So you still don't really know what he is, but he didn't look like a liability last year. Then you have Trey Dean, who you expect will probably make the roster, and you can only bet on what he did well coming out of college, which was to erase tight ends and running backs. And then, of course, he went out there and laid some big hits and stuff like that. We know what we're kind of getting in Whitehead. We expect improvements, and we know what Chuck Clark is bringing. So safety is really the unknown, which I think is the scary part about it. But our defense isn't really built in a way with the talent we brought in to where I think it's going to be the reason why we fell as a defense. We have the trio of quarterbacks that we have in front of them. We have the defensive line. There's no question marks in either one of those rooms. And we've seen how that nullified the team last year. So I'm not really too concerned whatsoever.
Well, and it's also like the only way we'll be screwed this season if Gardner goes down, Quinnen goes down, Rodgers goes down, but we still have a lot of depth in other areas that I'm always the next man up. I've always been that way. Next man up, even if Garrett Wilson goes down. Yes, that's going to suck massive, but like we still have depth there. And we still have depth at running back position just in case Brees goes down. Again, I hope, like I said, he said he's healthy, and I'm believing him. But I'm just a take it by day, take it by week kind of guy. But what are your thoughts on that?
Honestly, I think the only positions that we are screwed if they go down is quarterback and Quinnen Williams. And I love Sauce. I love Sauce Gardner.
Yeah.
But I think we've got enough of a rotation at the cornerback position to where I actually feel comfortable where, we'll take a different play. But I think with our defensive line being as elite and scary and ferocious as it is, we don't need to ask those guys to cover for long. I think the only losses we cannot overcome is Aaron Rodgers and Quinnen Williams. If we lose Quinnen Williams on the defense we saw it last year, my God.
It'll go down. It went down that game, and it's going to go down again.
And if we lose Aaron Rodgers, Zach Wilson, shit. I mean,
or Boyle, Strevler, what?
At this point, either one of those individuals go down for the season. Let's be real with it. Let's just pray for a freaking winning record, because that's at that point, that's all we'll be doing is hoping that we can go ahead and squeak out a winning record, because we're not going to go far in the playoffs without one of those two individuals on the defensive side of the ball or the offensive side of the ball. So that's my thought on it. Is Aaron Rodgers and Quinnen Williams are the individuals that football gods, whatever, keep those guys healthy and upright. And I think we have a chance. I think our defense still has a chance to be top 10, top 5 with Q in the game. And Aaron Rodgers, our offense will be top 10, top 5 with him in the game. With those two individuals, those two pieces removed, man, we're talking about average to below average. And that's kind of worrisome to me.
So I'm trying to figure out how I want to say it. I guess I'll just put a disclaimer out there. So this isn't to, I guess, negate the impact that we've seen Quinnen Williams having this defense. But the way I look at it is what we've seen last year. The moment Quinnen Williams came out the game, depending on what we were at in terms of the points and stuff like that, when the points were close, and even to a degree when the teams were behind, like the Miami game, they started trying to run and attack the interior of our defense a lot more, which took away from a lot of the necessary, huge big play, 20, 30, 40 plus yards, completions and stuff that could have technically happened. Didn't really with Sauce Gardner and DJ Reed, but it forced the teams to switch their philosophy to wanting to push the ball via the ground attack a lot more, which I think will technically play into our hands with some of the upgrades I would hope happens. Michael Clemens is supposed to be moving inside. He's beefed up to 290. He's actually been pretty successful in the interior of the defense. But ultimately, I guess I say that to say I think it'll play into our hands with Aaron Rodgers being able to go out there and win shootouts. So if they want to try to switch to attack the fact that we're missing a Quinnen Williams now, it's not necessarily going to be the worst thing in the world that maybe we're a little bit more susceptible to the run defense, as we've been under Robert Saleh to a certain degree anyways. And it's either going to force them to have to go and continue to try to attack Sauce Gardner, DJ Reed, or they're going to waste their time going out there and trying to pound the ground, let's say 70 yards down the field in order to score touchdowns to catch up to us. So I'm not hugely concerned. With that said, not a good idea if he definitely needs to leave for any portion of time.
Okay, now saying that though, because of all the pickups that we've had, even the draft, waivers, we've signed some Jefferson, Woods. I don't think Woods might be on this team. Maybe in training camp, you just never know.
Yeah, I think he was somebody that could get cut.
Yeah. Do you think if Q goes down that we would be okay because of the depth? Because they're moving JFM in the middle. Clemens is beefed up now to 290 and possibly going to play in the middle. Is that enough?
No.
Okay.
No, look, listen.
Just a question.
I know. I just feel like wholeheartedly what Quinnen does, like when you hear the term like generational talent, I think that you saw it on freaking 523 the other day. Perfect sense. Yeah. It's getting thrown around. Nah. Q identifies as a generational talent. This is a guy that can beat you with speed, athleticism, strength, whatever the hell he wants to do, he can do it. And as much as I love me some Clemens, I don't think he's got the athletic upside of a freaking Quinnen Williams. He's strong as all hell, right? Yeah. But there's a repertoire of ability that he uses that has been proven to work at this level. Granted, people will tell you, well, we're saying all this off of 1 year, but this is years in the making. Like Q has literally gotten better year after year after year. This is a man who's worked on his craft to get to the point that he was at last year, to hit potentially his ceiling. There might be more in the tank. Imagine if he had somebody else on the other side of him that can help. There might be more. We don't know. But Quinnen Williams is a top 5 defensive player in the NFL. Yeah, I'm saying that. In the NFL, bro. He's a top 5 defensive player in the NFL. Like, I'm not saying he's Aaron Donald, but he can wreck a game the way an Aaron Donald can, right? Like, those individuals are rare, man. And again, love me some Clemens. I think JFN does serve us better in the middle. But if Q goes down, I'm telling you, this defense takes a hit. It does. I don't see how you replace a Quinnen Williams. You just can't, right? Like, I see some people saying like Sauce or Reed, and I get where you're coming from in terms of the value of Sauce and Reed. Don't get that twisted. Yeah. But y'all need to understand, like, the heart and soul of our defense is the defensive line getting to the quarterback. We're not asking those guys to have to cover a freaking wide receiver for too long. It's the heart and soul of our defense is that defensive line getting into the backfield and disrupting the quarterback, right? That allows our guys on the back end to look great because they only have to cover for so long. No, you can't replace Reed or Sauce. But what I'm saying is our defense can survive and still be a top unit if those guys were to go down for a period of time, as long as our defensive line is intact. That's just the way I see it. But man, Quinnen Williams, bro, there's no other Aaron Rodgers on the team. There's no other Quinnen Williams on the team. That's the way I look at it.
And not only that, when you look at the Rams and Buffalo Bills, when Milano and Von Miller went down, they were screwed on the front line. Even the linebacker position. When you look at the Rams and all the injuries they've had, and Aaron Donald went down, they were not even existent. Leonard Floyd couldn't keep that float together. They couldn't keep any of that together. So I totally understand what you mean.
So, in breaking news, we got our first donation.
Oh, hello.
On our live show. Appreciate you, Jason Edwards. Is definitely greatly appreciated with Jason. Us just shooting this shit, Thanks, talking about our favorite team. But yeah, to the conversation that we're adding in, we see what the Packers game, I think, was the turning point for a lot of people, where if they weren't convinced that game, they said, okay, this guy's beyond just an impact player on this team. He could be one of those, essentially, after Aaron Donald's gone, this is the guy. The way a lot of people talk about him, this is going to be the next guy up. Him and probably Jeffrey Simmons are going to be the two dudes, because if I remember correctly, the Chiefs boy Chris. Talk
about Chiefs.
Yeah,
Chris Jones.
Yeah, there we go.
Jones.
Chris Jones is up there in age too, isn't he? It's
yeah,
like 32, 33.
Yeah, he's up there.
Yeah.
So really good, but he's up there.
Yeah, so you're looking at these two being the next two guys up. I think if we did,
he's 28.
Jesus, okay,
wow, 28 years old. Wow.
Who else were we this far off about?
Yeah, I feel like Chris Jones has been in the game for a minute, though. If I'm being honest, I swore he was early.
He came in at like 22 or something. Maybe
that's probably why.
He's turning 29 in July, so literally next month. So.
Nah,
I thought he was in his early 30s. I thought he was already in his early 30s.
He played with Dak Prescott at Mississippi State, and I remember them coming up at the same time. And Dak was pretty young.
Go ahead and throw him in the top 3 then, because that dude's a savage too.
Oh, I love Chris Jones. Let me see. Jones.
I think, though, if we end up missing Q, I think we have a combination of guys that can make up for it in kind of like a committee approach. We'll be able to still attack them in waves and kind of wear them down. We just won't have a guy that can take over the game in a way that Quinnen Williams was. But for perspective, this was something I was going to end up dropping at some point later this week, talking about Michael Clemens anyways. He, from an athletic standpoint, he's going to be one of the best guys on the interior on the entire team. So Quinnen Williams had a 9.86 for a RAS score, or a 9.84 or something like that. Quinnen, God damn it, I just mentioned his name. Michael Clemens would be a 9.72. It's not far off, and I think he has him beat in stuff like the agility drills by just a little bit. So I think Michael Clemens, he could potentially be like a breakout star candidate guy, because take a look at the ferocity that he brings. Centers and guards are generally very, very rarely capable of handling guys like Michael Clemens that has, I think, one of the pre-draft reports said like cement blocks for hands. And then you add in the fact that he's going to be much quicker like a JFM was coming out on the interior. We've seen him beat some double teams and stuff even on the edge last year. So I get pretty pumped to actually see him come in and potentially replace some of those snaps that a guy like Quentin Jefferson is going to get. And to be honest, I hope he beats him out in the rotation at some point. I think he'll probably play more on the inside than not. But facts are facts. You're not really going to go out there and find a replacement for Quentin Williams unless you go and trade midseason for one of the guys who just got a big contract. So,
or go get Jonathan Marshall, Steelers, cut him, get him over here, get him back.
He's not going to be a.
I know, but I wish. I
love him.
I'm just wishing.
But I'll say this, right? So the RAS score thing, I'm glad you brought that up, DK. And again, love me some Clemens. But the difference in terms of the RAS scores is minuscule, right? I think it's about like 0.5, 0.6, something like that. The weight difference, 267 pounds for Michael Clemens, 305 pounds.
He's 290.
No. When he did the RAS score, when he did the training, he did the RAS score.
Oh, yeah.
267 to Q's 305. That's a huge differential in terms of that much weight being pushed around at that speed, but like, I get what you're saying in terms of a committee approach can potentially hold the fort down, but that takes away from what they like to do in terms of a rotation, right? You're talking about now you're going to have to depend on other individuals to elevate their game 2, 3%, 5%, 6%, 10% to try to get to a level of a Quinnen type of impact. And I just don't know if you can ask individuals to do that. Even if you're rotating them out, I get it. But Q, bro, it's just, man, like if you watch, like, he's different. There it is. He's just different, bro. Like, and that,
to be fair, though, to your point, how many teams have a guy that's capable of going in and replacing an Aaron Donald, a Quentin Williams, Chris Jones down? So I think we're in the best position to kind of
at least alleviate it.
That absence, yeah.
Man. I'm just hoping Q and Rodgers, bro, we don't have to worry about those guys going down. The football gods are gonna hurt our feelings. I know they're going to at some point. They always do. But
the boom's coming. The boom's gonna come.
Please, not Q. Please, not Rodgers.
For the most part, I'm not really. I think from an injury standpoint, we've kind of gotten PTSD because a lot of the stuff isn't things that normally happen to players. There's been a lot of freak injuries, and a lot of like season-ending type stuff that I think we have the highest rate of like season-ending injuries.
No, we do, and the most injuries. And the most injuries.
I think in the last 3 years combined, the New York Jets have led the league in most players on injured reserve on like in terms of cap space.
And offensive line. And offensive line.
30% of our cap space on injured reserve because that's just how we roll, right? Everybody gets hurt when they come to the Jets. Our defense last year being as healthy as it was, I'm still like, how? I'm like, how the hell did we pull that off last year? That's unheard of. So I just maybe this is the turning of the tide, right? Last year was the defense. This year it's going to be the whole team, offense and defense, right? I mean, if special teams got to take a couple of hits, I'm willing to sacrifice some special teams guys to keep the offense and defense, you know what I'm saying, intact. But if the football gods need to be freaking, tailored to or catered to in some capacity, I stand here as a New York Jets fan base representative. We are willing to sacrifice special teams players if need be for the cause.
The football gods require a sacrifice. There's no ifs, ands, or buts.
There it is. We sacrifice. We are willing to sacrifice special teams players for the cause.
And that's the thing about us. Like how much PTSD we have. Breece Hall and Vera Tucker going out in the same game. That's awful. And then we're still leading the most offensive linemen with injuries in the past 3 years as the most injured and to be on injured reserve. And not only that, you're adding Aaron Rodgers in here, who is even has a better offensive line, but still the injuries part is always going to scare someone. But I think overall, I have faith in Joe Douglas that the next man up, like I said, I always believe that philosophy of next man up. So I think he's going to do the best we can. Just even the shit we got, Cedric Ebola, Like, fuck. And then LDT comes in here. And then who's the other Chiefs guy that they had? Who's his name? Won a Super Bowl with them. He's old as hell. Not Orlando Brown.
Uh,
Oh my god, I just had him. But anyways, you bring him in, and it's like, damn. I think we're getting these guys at like restaurants now. So let's hope it doesn't happen. Let's hope it doesn't happen again.
To be fair, I love those stories. Like one of my favorite UDFAs will always be Snacks, Damon Harrison. And I think they said that they like saw him passing through a grocery store or something and was like, bro, why are you
are you here
on the football field?
right. Exactly.
So
it's true though.
To be fair, and kind of transition the argument to the headline that we had on here. So life after Aaron Rodgers and what that kind of looks like. So the ideal kind of in my mind behind the question would be maybe 3 players minimum currently on the roster on each side of the ball that would need to progress. They don't need to be a superstar in the league or whatever, but pretty much 3 core blocks that can continue to bring us success in trying to maybe push our playoff window once Aaron Rodgers retires, and let's just say the 2 years we get out of him.
Are you saying like who steps up in his like once he's gone?
Like
yeah,
it's about 3 positions.
No. So if you want 3 players though on either side of the ball, and those would be guys that ideally will be here in 3 years that should have developed to a certain level to keep us in the playoff picture.
Okay.
Oh.
All right. So I'm gonna go with I think Sauce Gardner solidifies himself as being that guy. He becomes the new Darrelle Revis, the new impacto best cornerback in football. None of this argument about Jalen Ramsey potentially still being that guy or the kid out of freaking Seattle being that guy. I think it's between Patrick Surtain and Sauce Gardner, and Sauce Gardner will have the edge against Pat Surtain. I think that's what it's going to come down to. I think that's going to be key in keeping our defense relevant. The goal is Q to still be here at that point. So he's already, in my opinion, reached the pinnacle to where he's proven his worth and his value. But I think Sauce becomes that dude. I think I think freaking Garrett Wilson becomes the first wide receiver that, you know what I'm saying, is a perennial Pro Bowler. That's a New York Jet. And my hope and desire is somehow, some way, Aaron Rodgers unlocks the freaking mind of a Zach Wilson, and mind can conform with body and skill set, and the dude is actually a serviceable quarterback in the NFL. I'm not saying he's going to be the next Aaron Rodgers. I'm not saying he's going to be this next freaking like Patrick Mahomes or something like that. But behind Aaron Rodgers' tutelage, he's able to go ahead and get out there, see the field, make plays, and is a serviceable quarterback, which I think with our defense being the core front of what we do as the Jets, he can go ahead and play well enough to keep us relevant in terms of playoff conversation and moving forward. That's what I hope. I'm not ready to quit on Zach Wilson yet. I don't know why. Me neither. I love the kid's arm talent, man. I like the kid in general, man. Like I struggle with just saying like, nah, this kid's trash. But because when you see him when he's on, it's been very, very pretty to see. Unfortunately, it's also been very, very rare that we see it. But man, I really hope freaking Zach Wilson gets unlocked by Aaron Rodgers.
Knock on wood. So much wood. Anyways, Banks, is this the type of question to where can we see ourselves with these players after Aaron Rodgers leave too, like in their 3rd-year contract? Because I can add that. Is that what you're thinking too?
If you think they'll develop enough to get a 2nd, 3rd contract from us,
and then leave the Jets or stay with the Jets?
They'll still be with us. So this ideally is going to be a group of people that will take the mantle after Aaron Rodgers is gone.
Sauce Gardner, 100%. And then also Q, if he's still here, like Gunny said, that's a big one for me. But also on the offensive side, Rucker. I look at Rucker because Uzama and Conklin is not going to be here for a long. I mean, they got one more year, maybe they might get traded eventually. I doubt that, but I think Rucker is the guy to watch in training camp right now. Him in the back of that wide receiver core. But yeah, Rucker's going to be that guy to what the Jets want him to do to be that number one guy. I think everyone's with all eyes on him. And then just like Gunny said about Zach Wilson, I really think in my heart that if Rodgers can unleash Zach somehow, like he's still going to be with us for years to come if it happens. Because I don't want to give up on the kid. He wasn't my first choice. He's definitely not my last choice. But all the stuff that we've been seeing and hearing from him and how his relationship with Rodgers is, that's a big thing. Also, if Brees can stay healthy, he can get another big contract along with Wilson. But that's a big ones for me.
Touche. I don't know. I tried to dig deep for these ones, but it's hard. I'm going to go with Joe Tippmann. I still think he's going to end up developing into one of the, I'll say, top 7 centers in the league, which I don't think is too much of a stretch. Granted, I haven't really heard much about him from OTAs and all of that kind of stuff, but I'm going to go Joe Tippmann just because I know how important the D-line and offensive line are going to be to Robert Saleh and Joe Douglas. Mm-hmm. I am going to say it's got to be Quinnen. It's probably going to be Joe Tippmann, Quinnen Williams, Sauce Gardner for me. If there was another guy on the defense, I would probably say it's going to be Jermaine Johnson. Underrated. He's going to be able to kind of develop at his own pace still for the next year or two with how they built up the defensive line. But to be honest, they said it on the Flight podcast from last year when we drafted him. Like we got this guy to go out and get the Josh Allens of the world and the Aaron Rodgers and stuff like that. And I think we've seen little slivers of that last year, especially when he was able to go out and get Josh Allen on that critical, I think, third down force or the second that forced the Bryce Hall sack. So those would probably be my 3 guys on defense: Joe Tippmann, Garrett. It's hard for me to pick anybody in the running back room because I really don't think we're going to want to pay running backs. I want to say Israel Abanikanda over Breece Hall so bad just because I think he has the extra year over him. And his contract will probably be cheaper. I don't know if there will be a huge fall off if he can piece the physical piece of his game together from Breece Hall. People are going to take that and run with it. It is what it is. Breece Hall is a different beast of a running back, but I don't think Israel is, classes behind him, especially if they continue to build up the offensive line. So I don't know. Third offensive guy is kind of up for grabs, but it'd probably have to be somebody else on the offensive line, ABT, I guess.
So you don't think they're going to go ahead and re-sign Breece?
This is the issue that a lot of front offices are facing right now and the way things are looking. And here's the thought process behind it, just so you guys are aware and don't think I'm just tripping balls out here.
No. I'm with you. I'm with you. I don't think we will.
I just don't think we will.
Yeah, the front offices kind of have this groupthink mentality. So when I started seeing that 3, 4, 5 of the same teams around the league, or not same, but teams around the league are kind of handling business the same way. You're seeing Cook go out. You're seeing the way that Ezekiel Elliott is struggling to still get picked up. You're going to start seeing it with Joe Mixon when it's time for his contract. You're seeing it with Josh Jacobs, like premier guys in the league. And the Raiders is one of the pure teams that I look at in this conversation because Josh Jacobs literally carries that team. Yep. And will continue to carry it with Jimmy Garoppolo struggling to lift his body onto the field. So
if he's even on the field, who the hell knows if he's going to be on it?
These premier guys can't get contracts, and I've seen it in a bunch of different articles where teams understand they can just go to the draft and get another guy that's going to be younger. And even if he doesn't have the talent level, at least you have fresh legs that you can go out there and you can put together 4 or 5 guys to make up the production for Josh Jacobs, which to a certain degree they're not wrong about. So I think you'll start seeing more of this first round conversation start happening again, just so they can get some of these premier guys, use them for the 4 years.
Yep.
5 years, they'll recycle them. So It's kind of
Yeah,
where
I'm
we're
with
at, which is unfortunate.
I mean,
but
That's what Barkley's struggling so much with his right now.
the running back position though has been proven to be very, very translatable, right? Transferable from like
Right.
college to the pros, right? Like, hey, boom, here's the hole, hit it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you've got the speed, you've got the burst, you've got the vision. You're going to be good to go, and you can see the transition from freaking college to the pros. The biggest hurdle is for those who can block, right? Most guys in college just can't pick up the blitz. They don't block very well. So you see running back by committee happening so much in the league. I love me some Brees. I think Brees Hall is a different beast. I think he is like the Adrian Peterson of our time potentially. But I'm with you, man. I just don't think that we're going to invest in that. Man, there's some crazy lightning and thunder happening.
I was about to say, bro, I thought somebody ran into a stack of
Y'all
chairs.
heard that?
I thought a window broke.
No, that's the third time in like a 30-second increment. Lightning just struck like that, and it's getting closer. But I think Brees, unfortunately, man, as good as he is, he might see the chopping block, right? But
Yeah.
I have this thought process of if Brees Hall, because he's 23 now, right? 22 now. He's young, so he'll be 27. Yeah, he'll be 26, pushing on 27. I don't see it happening, unfortunately for him.
Yeah.
Which sucks because I like me some Brees. But the way, like you said, the way the league is going,
he's 22.
You know,
he's 22 years old.
So he'll be 20. Well, 25.
He'll be 23
He'll be
next
25.
May. Next May he'll be.
Yeah. So he'll be 25
23.
when his contract expires, pretty much. I mean, I don't know. 25, he might get a little 2-year extension, maybe, depending on how he plays. But in terms of the long-term extensions, I think that seeing those in the NFL for running backs are dead. I don't think
they're going to have to settle.
Yep, they're going to have to settle for these freaking little 2-year, 3-year contract extensions max. There's no more 4 or 5-year contract extensions for running backs. And you unfortunately, man, you see it all the time. Zeke Elliott, freaking 2 years after he got his contract. Trash,
nothing.
Right? There's
Absolute
nothing, right? You just start seeing it, and then the injuries start piling up. Saquon Barkley, I mean, in all actuality, he's only played 2 out of the is it 3 or 2 out of the years that he's been in the league. The injuries,
he only played 2 out of his 5-year contract.
5 years, right? Like the injuries destroyed him, and that dude came in as a generational prospect, right? Like an individual who was going to change the game. But it's a grueling position. It's a grueling position. It's a young man's position. Because like you said, fresh legs is where it's at right now when it comes to that group. So. Love me some Brees, man, but I don't see him staying with the Jets, longer than potentially 6 years. That's a 2-year extension after this particular contract is over.
And I'm fully prepared to lose one of those 3. Gardner,
I think it's going to be 2.
Or Hall. I think we're only going to keep one of them. I don't know. I don't know who it's going to be, but I think we're only going to keep one of them.
If we're going to keep one, I'll tell you right now who it's going to be. I know exactly who it's going to be.
Okay, hold up. Let's go around the corner. Banks, you first.
Well, Gino, we talked about this, I think, the first time we linked together. Michael Carter was making those comments about what he thought about the running back position, how they were getting their contracts, and the way he was speaking led me to believe that if there's any struggle during our conversations, and this is back when he could do no wrong, right? The most elusive running back in the league. He was handling receiving duties. He wasn't an elite blocker, but he can go out there and get in the way long enough for people I don't see him coming back. I don't see Brees Hall coming back. Obviously, you have Israel for the 4 years, and then Izzy will be done next year because he's a UDFA, and I think they only got a 3-year contract.
Wait, are we talking about the running back room, or are we talking about between our superstars and Sauce?
I was talking about superstars, DK.
Yeah.
Oh,
okay.
I missed the question.
Superstars. On a Gardner, Wilson, or Brees. Who would we lose or keep?
We're definitely keeping Sauce.
Yep.
Sauce, 100%.
It's Sauce, 100%.
No doubt. No doubt.
I think, unfortunately, Garrett Wilson is going to be the guy that we wind up. We're going to exercise that 5th-year option. Yeah. And I think he's going to be way too expensive to keep. And unfortunately, we'll have to pay him. We'll have to pay Sauce. I think we go Sauce. I think Sauce is going to be the dude we wind up keeping.
100%. Right when they walked in the building and after this first year, there's just something about Brees and Wilson that I'm like, no, I just can't see. I'm going to enjoy the ride. But I really think we're going to go and keep Gardner. I think Gardner loves it here. I think he embraces the Jets community, embraces the Jets content. He's got content out there, YouTube channel. It's not that I don't think Wilson doesn't want to be here because he's got his boy playing for the Mets. That's great, but I think he's a Texas boy. I think he wants to go back to Texas eventually, in my personal opinion. But we'll see what happens, right?
I don't even think it's about that. I just think it's going to be a cost thing, man. It's going to be you're going to have potentially. I think Garrett Wilson will be a top 5 wide receiver. I think Sauce Gardner will be a top 3 defensive player in the league. And max contracts for both of those guys, bro. Like you can't do it. There's just no freaking way. It's going to be a stupid amount of money, and I think ultimately it comes down to that.
Yeah.
I think that you go to the table and you see how much it's going to cost, and to carry a superstar contract on defense, a superstar contract on offense, and then by then we'll probably be working about the quarterback situation as well. Like you just can't do it. You just can't. So I think in the long run, Sauce makes all the more sense. Cornerback is a very, very difficult position. I'm not saying wide receiver isn't, but cornerback is a different beast in itself, and I think Sauce is. I think he's better in terms of football player than Garrett Wilson. I think we'll see that in about 4 to 5 years when it comes time to contract time.
I mean, it's been proven so far. Garrett Wilson admitted Sauce got the best of him. The rookie year. We've seen what Sauce Gardner can do. If Sauce Gardner can get more takeaways this year, it's going to be a wrap. Not only is he locking people up, but he's forcing the issue to get 3, 4, or 5 picks a year. I think the staff will fall in love with him, and then also just kind of seeing the trend with how teams and the head coach's philosophy and specialties and all that kind of stuff now is built out. The defensive staff is still in a pretty much a league of their own, with not only turning over the defense, but compared to the Nathaniel Hackett and his crew coming in, they're still going to have to mesh. They're still going to have to try to get the development and stuff like that. So it makes sense in my mind from Robert Saleh's perspective that you take a look at the team and you say, for my longevity as well as the team's benefit, we will probably always make sure that we're set on defense. So I have that crutch that I can say, we're going to go out there and lock teams up. We're going to hold them to under 15 points. I can build an offense with Nathaniel Hackett or whoever they continue to develop on the coaching staff personnel side to fit that mold if we, devolve back into that after an Aaron Rodgers.
And also, I'd bring up Tigo's point, if you want to bring up that comment. He said he doesn't think we're going to –
Hold on. Jason gave us a super chat. We got to answer that.
Oh, never mind. Sorry.
Sorry, Tigo.
Yeah, I was waiting for us to finish this out.
Yeah. I didn't want you to kick it off the screen. But actually, go ahead. Take it off the screen and put this one back. And then we'll answer Jason's question after this. What were you saying, Gina?
Tigo mentioned something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm super far up at state with the super chat. Hold on.
I see it. 2:54 p.m. You can pay more than one great player. I think we keep Garrett Wilson and Sauce. As long as paying big money.
So we haven't been in this position before, right? To pay multiple people, at least in-house. So you add that to the fact that also we've been extending our dead cap hits with these void year multi-contracts that we've been adding. And it's not a crazy amount. It's like a couple million here and there, but we're doing that for 6-7 people. You got to imagine we'll do it again next year. And so you're talking at least until 2026, 2027. Let's just say probably on the low end, 10 to 12, let me say 10 to 15 million is tied up in just dead cap hit money. And then by then you already have paid Q. You're talking about having to pay Garrett Wilson, Sauce Gardner, Jermaine Johnson, Breece Hall, extensions to Michael Clemens, like all of these guys that are coming up, AVT, Max Mitchell, if he works out, like it's going to be a lot. And they're not all superstars, but the majority of those guarantees and signing bonuses that are going to hit and nullify that right away are going to come from Sauce Gardner and a Garrett Wilson if you want to keep them. And with us prioritizing that defensive and offensive lines as well, it's going to be steep.
Because to go with what Tigo's saying, right? Like I get it. Like in most situations, most teams can do that, but you're going to have 3 first-round draft picks coming due for contracts. One of them being a defensive edge in JJ, Sauce Gardner, and then Garrett Wilson, right? And numerous individuals that were drafted. That whole draft seems to have talent all across the place that we can go ahead and see ourselves extending. I get what he's saying, right? In terms of like, yeah, you can, right? Most teams have done that, but most teams also didn't have 3 first-round draft picks that could potentially be up for contracts when it's all said and done. And a defensive end, cornerback, I think the value is higher there. Everybody wants to play wide receiver. Every kid wakes up, quarterback, wide receiver, running back. Like, we all want to do that stuff, right? Finding guys who are truly dedicated to the mastery of defense is very, very rare. And I think you can replace some offensive stars easier. I mean, hell, look at the last freaking several drafts. Justin Jefferson, freaking Jamar Chase, freaking like Garrett Wilson. I mean, Chris Olave was a stud last year too. Like, you can replace wide receiver a little bit easier than you could replace freaking a quality defensive end or a elite cornerback, right? So I think that's what it's going to boil down to when it comes down to it. It was a great draft. It's a compliment, really. It was such a great draft that you're probably going to want to keep the majority of these guys. But the bulk of that money is going to come from, like you just said, from Sauce and or Garrett Wilson. So to be able to carry both of those guys while trying to go ahead and keep the team intact, I just don't see it being feasible. I really think it boils down to having to pick one. And I think Garrett Wilson might be the guy that winds up not being it.
I mean, this is the eventuality I think teams should be considering anyways when they have multiple first-round picks. You're hoping to get that huge value deal where you can maximize, whatever production you're going to get in those first 3 to 4 years. Then it's business decisions. That's pretty much the way any draft pick is going. Even the undrafted free agents, since they're only on the 3 years anyways, and they don't have to play out the full 3. Like Alan Lazard couldn't be happier watching that the Flight podcast for that signing bonus.
Yep, 10 million hit the account.
Yeah, man, got him an entire pizza slice instead of a little. But yeah, it's good problems for us to have. If we're knocking down that door, then we finally gotten things right. Because we haven't been able to pay a first-round guy for quite some time. So to lock down Q and then have the chance to go out there and get Sauce, or if Garrett Wilson rises over, like whoever it is a win-win for us realistically. But yeah, I can't see us being able to keep more than those guys.
If Brees was healthy with AVT 10-7 last year,
I mean, it forces Zach Wilson to throw a lot less, as we've seen, but this is the only struggle with teams that want to go run heavy and then they don't have the receiving weapons or the quarterback to take advantage of what happens with that, because you're going to bring in a heavier box, which means you have one-on-one matchups on the outside. You should be able to use play action or take those shots, get those chunk plays, do the damage that's going to make them think, throw a guy back out there. We couldn't take advantage of that, right? And Breece Hall was on kind of a crazy run during that, I think 4 or 5 game stretch after week 2 when he finally got his legs together. Like, I don't know if it moves the needle as much. I will say our offense is a little bit more consistent with him, but I don't think we see like an extra couple wins, in my opinion.
I don't think 10-7, but I think 9-8. I definitely think we would have beaten freaking the Dolphins that last game of the season.
Yeah.
And there's one other game I'm thinking about. I'm having a brain fart right now, but I think 9-8. 10-7, I think might be a stretch.
Yeah. 9-8.
But 9-8, and we would have definitely beat the Dolphins, I think, last game of the season.
100%.
9-8. Healthy BT.
100%. 9-8.
Fair point. I guess we'll find out this season.
I mean, facts.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see if he stays healthy. See if he's not. We'll see what happens.
Hey, I think
the Lions game. I think the Jets win the Lions game too. That's the other one I was thinking about. I think the Jets win the Lions game, and the Jets win the freaking Dolphins game.
Hold on.
It was 17-20
that game again,
right? And it was stupid close, but we just couldn't close it when it fucking mattered, and it was frustrating. I think a Breece Hall punching the Lions in the face, that weak ass Lions defense in the face, even on a screen pass, those guys would have been destroyed and torched. I think Breece Hall could have been the difference maker in that game, and I definitely think in the Dolphins game it would have been a beat. We would have beat them. So I would say 9-8. I think looking at the other games, I don't.
No. He would have gotten us out of a lot of jams and a lot of holes, especially in the red zone. The way he could attack space and attack the right and left side. But 9 and 8, that's pretty consistent.
Maybe the Patriots. Now that I'm looking at it, because we played both. We played both Patriots games.
Who said that?
People are reaching.
14-2 if healthy, huh?
Nah.
Ooh, no.
I don't know about that. I'm
No.
sorry. I can't get on board with that.
I love it, but we still did have the worst quarterback behind center.
Yeah, we gotta be realistic. We gotta be realistic here.
14-2.
What run? Okay, so what? I'm trying to rack my brain real quick. What run-heavy team has had the highest record so far? I'm pretty sure it's going to be the Browns, and I think they topped out at 10-7.
What did the Titans do 2 years ago?
Let me see.
Against us, or
No,
just
in terms of the season.
So the Titans were. Let's see.
Didn't they just have a 12?
I think that was 3 years ago, but yeah,
3 years ago?
That makes sense.
I would say they're the pinnacle, right? Freaking on the back
7-10. Oh no, 2021, 12-5, and then they were 11-5 before.
Yeah, 12-5.
I would say they're the pinnacle. Like Derrick Henry is the pinnacle of a run-heavy freaking offense and winning record. I know there was a 12-game win stretch in there. So looking at this now, all right, I'm not gonna lie to you, Jason. Like it's not. Man, I think that against the Patriots, both games we didn't have freaking Brees. Both games.
Yeah.
I think we take one of those games. Either one, it really wouldn't have mattered. Defense played lights out. But maybe that second game, that 3-10 game, I think, Jesus Christ. I think with a Brees Hall, that damn, yeah, man. Now he's not.
Did I miss any other ones? So we have 14-3. Dark Soldier said 10-7. I don't know. I'm somewhere between 8 and 9, and I guess 10-7. I think the Patriots game definitely makes sense.
9 and 8 still.
Yeah.
I'm sticking to 9 and 8. I'm sorry. I'm just sticking to it.
The Dolphins, we would have gotten the Dolphins. There's no offense or bust. That would have been a win. That Lions game, that would have been a win. Nah, I can convince myself that November 20th against the Patriots game, bro. That game was ugly. It was just pure ugliness.
Right? It wasn't our destiny. It wasn't our destiny.
Destiny.
Not that destiny, my behind.
Brees Hall is the destiny, right? He could have been the difference maker.
He's the Destiny's Child.
He was. That's the game. I don't think that was the first game, but I think that was the most significant one where we seen our entire running back room struggle, right? People looked at Michael Carter. I think he had a fumble or two that game too, and that miss. I think he had a miss, not a miss. I think he had a dropped pass when we finally got to the red zone too, didn't
Yes. Yep. 100%.
Yeah. This is the year we beat the Patriots. This is the year. I was not confident last year with the
all right, Jason. You got me, bro. I could say 10. I could feel comfortable saying you know what? Yeah, 10-7. I think we take the second game against the Pats. We definitely take that last game against the Fins, and we take that game against the Lions. I feel comfortable with a healthy Brees Hall. He could have been the game changer. A healthy Brees Hall in ABC, yeah, I could see 10-7.
Yeah, if we throw an AVT and I give it to you. Brees Hall on his own.
With a healthy Brees Hall.
I don't know about Brees Hall on his own. Okay, I can see 10-7 with AVT.
I can see 10 with AVT and Brees healthy. I can.
But if it's just Brees by itself, 9 and 8.
Nah, same here. If it's Brees by himself, I can see the Dolphins win. I can see the Lions win. Damn, man, that hurts a little bit.
It hurts a lot.
It hurts a lot.
You kidding me? It hurts me in my gut.
Everything else hurts, bro. Knowing that we, up until week 18, we only needed one win to try to sneak into the playoffs, even with help. Yeah,
and we beat the teams that no one expected us to beat, and we just got them at the right time because everyone was they're all trying to figure out their shit. And we beat them. We beat them. Broncos, Green Bay.
Somebody in the chat tripping out. We're getting ready to wrap up here, but
Gunny had to go.
My holy king, I think. I think I seen somebody mention he's dropping all kind of Lion stuff in here.
And Dark, your thing about the Jets defense only allowed 3 points.
I think that's the Patriots game he's talking about.
Yeah, but I still wasn't confident though.
Or no, not the Patriots game because that's the one we lost on.
I thought it was. I don't know which part he was talking about, which game he was talking about. But I'm talking about going. Okay,
Lions.
going into the Lions and Patriots, I was not confident. I really wasn't. It just didn't feel right.
There's not a game I
Pats
wasn't confident in because
he was talking about the Pats game.
Yeah, we were crushing. I hate so much being a defensive guy myself that the defense played as well as
I'm
it
an offensive
did.
guy. I'm all offense.
I did cornerback and safety when I was in school, but seeing a defense put together, the players, how people like focus on physical traits versus technical skills and all that kind of stuff, I love the whole thing. But seeing the onslaught that defense put on, you had no offense to help. You didn't even have the same version of your special teams that you had the year before to try to help you out with field position. I really hope they come out and they have the same play, even better, of course, because we're going to get a few different documentaries about this 2023 Jets team.
And Hard Knocks is knocking.
Yeah, I heard we might get forced to be on that show or something like
What's
that.
crazy is Hard Knocks has annually announced who's going to be on Hard Knocks in March. But we're in June. The only thing that makes sense to me is they want the Jets and the Jets don't want to do it. So there's some back and forth going on.
Yeah, the NFL wants the Jets to do it.
Not much of a back and forth though. The contract is written that they can force the team to do it.
They can force any team. But the thing is, I want to know if are there parameters? So you want us to do it, fine, but you're still not going to see this, and this. And I don't want to know if they have some leverage in that aspect, which is why they're trying to negotiate it.
I was going to go back and check out the one from the Rex Ryan days because I wanted to see what all was included. I know they did the cut day. I know they had the training camp practices and some of the players mic'd up and all that good stuff. Yeah. So I'm assuming they want to probably keep it closer to that side of things. But they probably want to. It's Aaron Rodgers in the building now. I'm sure they want to be in the coaching player meetings.
I want to be in the quarterback room with them. Nah, I think that
record.
Personally, I don't want it. I don't want it. I don't.
Nope.
I know some people they want to have it. I'm like, not me. Don't care for it. I'm good with one Jets drive.
I Flight 23.
Watch
Flight 23 is great.
Works, but man, I can't do it. I don't know. I don't want them anywhere near this team. I don't want them distracting them from doing what they got to do to focus on the season and just be freaking hardwired to kill the season. And I feel like it's a distraction that we just don't need. But maybe that's just my bias or some shit. But I don't want. I don't want Hard Knocks.
You know what's even more funny is when they did the Lions season and they did the Cardinals season. Cardinals sucked butt during the in-season Hard Knocks. I watched it, and I don't want that. I just don't even want the in-season one either. This is not. I think One Just Drive is doing such a great job, and I think they've been spitting out everything. I think we're some of the best media and video department in making all this behind-the-scenes stuff in the NFL. That's good enough for me. That's good enough for me.
Dark Souls
is laughing when I watched the Jets have a better media yesterday. Yeah, facts.
Oh yeah. I agree
1,000%.
It's weird that we can't get some of our press conferences right, but those documentaries are fire. But I think I'm also kind of at the point where as long as Hard Knocks isn't, I think the concern from Robert Solomon's side too is that there's some kind of interference with that as well, not necessarily a distraction. So as long as there's not that, I'll welcome any of the extra content anyways. I'll eat it up. But yeah, if we had a choice, I'm purely good with our Jets Flight 23.
Man, Jason's on it today, man. He just hit us up again.
8, 75, and 20, 12 wins healthy. Okay, so Aaron Rodgers, who's 75? AVT?
AVT, Breece Hall, Aaron Rodgers, and 12 wins healthy
for this season.
So I'm assuming he means 100% healthy. They don't.
Yeah, everyone's healthy, 100% healthy.
I think that's the floor if everyone's healthy. A healthy New York Jets team. A healthy New York Jets team, I think, with a defense like that, and Aaron Rodgers at the helm of offense, I think 12 wins is the floor. I see this team, if they're healthy throughout the season, man, I can see us pushing for 14 wins this year.
I'm going to be more conservative on this one. I would be satisfied with 11 to 12 wins, maybe 10.
Oh no, 100%.
But yeah, that ceiling is 14. You want to strive to 14 wins every year. But that's just me though, 10 to 12.
I'm thinking 11 to 13. One of the Bills games I think is a toss-up. One of the Dolphins games is a toss-up. And then I'm thinking the Chiefs and the Eagles might be the only ones you clearly look at and say this is probably a loss.
Yep.
At least because it's so early on in the season as well.
Exactly.
So
I those are the exact same games I had. I think we're going to split with the Fins, split with the Bills, Chiefs or Eagles. If not both of them, one of them is going to get us. Those are the teams that out the schedule, and I was just like, damn. Those are the only ones that I had to say damn to. Everything else, I'm just like, but even with those dams, I'm like, we still got a chance. Like, those are the teams that I look at. Look out, like, man, we might freaking catch an L, but like, I believe wholeheartedly we have a chance in every single game we play this season. Like, every single game, as long as we're healthy.
Facts.
Yeah, good stuff. All right,
that's a bow on it for me, y'all.
Yeah, I gotta go.
Yeah.
All right, bet. Well, we appreciate you guys, Jason Edwards. You're big boss today, my man. We appreciate you greatly.
Appreciate you, man.
Everybody else that stopped in as well. Definitely the livest session that we've had so far between group chats, people supporting out there. We appreciate you guys. We'll catch you guys next Monday.
Yep. Peace out.